started playing music at the young age of 6 when my parents bought me my first guitar, and I would just sit there playing stuff like the Beatles' Day Tripper over and over again, or Malagueña, just simple little ditties on the guitar. And then when I turned 8, I started taking guitar lessons, which kind of changed my life. It started practicing every day and getting better and better at my instrument, better and better at music in general, a better listener. I was also in choir at that time, and when I moved to California, that's what I wanted to do in middle school. I wanted to be in the choir, but you had to be in 8th grade to be in the choir, and I was only in 7th grade. So they said, "But do you want to do band? Do you play any instruments?" I said, "Well, I play the guitar," and the band director at Arcade Middle School, Miss Frew at the time, was the first one to put a bass in my hands, and it kind of clicked, and I enjoyed it. Went home, practiced a bunch, came back, and was at least able to play simple band music on the bass. I developed on the bass for a couple more years before high school, where I started learning the upright bass for jazz band, because I wanted to play in the jazz band. And I played in a couple of combos around town and ended up in the Sacramento Youth Symphony Jazz Orchestra as a senior. In my senior year, I applied to Berklee College of Music and was accepted. I got to go in 2008, fall 2008. While I was there, I studied contemporary writing and production and minored in conducting. Berklee was such a cool place to be because of how culturally diverse it was. There were people from all over the world there in this little small school in Boston, and we were also able to be introduced to lots of different styles of music from around the world. Like I was in a Brazilian ensemble, a contemporary Middle Eastern ensemble. I took a class called South Indian Rhythmic Solfege and got to learn a bunch of cool Indian rhythms. And all this stuff, all this accumulated knowledge really helped me get better at my instruments and better at my writing. The band that I was in while I was in college was the Hillary Reynolds Band. And before that time, I was mostly a bass player. And I started in this group as a bassist as well. There were a lot of things going on in my life at that time. I felt really inspired to write music. And so I picked up the guitar and started just writing away. That's when I really developed on the guitar, actually. Before then, I just was relying on the skills and knowledge I started with back when I was 8 years old taking guitar lessons. So now that I listened to a lot of different things and was able to draw on my experiences, I started to approach the instrument in a different way, and sort of I was able to play myself a little bit more, which is a very important part about developing as a musician. When you go from just playing your scales, your fundamentals, and you start playing yourself, it's a good time, and it'll happen to all of you as well. Fundamentals to me are the most important thing that I practice. I find that everything that you do just relies right back on those fundamentals that you learned when you first started playing the guitar, like your scales, reading different time feels, and that really comes into play with the bass as well. You know, having a really solid two feel or really solid quarter note swing. You know, all these things are really important, and they are the things that will make you a working musician, not necessarily how well you solo, although that helps as well. The best way to practice those fundamentals are to have a good knowledge of the different roles that your hands are playing. Like your left hand is mostly your voice. You know, if you think about it as your voice, your left hand is your vocal cords, and your right hand is your breath. And so you need both of them in order to speak or in order to sing, but it's good to develop both of them at the same time separately. Another thing that really helps with your technique is good posture. So having a good idea of where your hands are on the instrument and how the straightness of your back and how your feet are planted. All these things matter, that they'll all come out in your playing. And so I really focus on getting my students started off with good fundamentals with their left and right hand and with their posture. My influences starting out were things on 90s contemporary radio, like Dave Matthews, Bare Naked Ladies, stuff like that. Then once I got into high school, I started listening to a band called Bela Fleck and the Flecktones because I was really into the electric bass, and the bassist from Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, Victor Wooten, was my idol for a really long time, so listened to them nonstop. I have a Martin Dreadnought guitar, also a Taylor Dreadnought guitar, and a Fender Aerodyne jazz bass, and I play a Jeff Saw's upright bass.